All right, hi there. My name is Kelly Frazier, and I want to welcome you to this Blabcast about the powerful secrets that we can discover in unity in our marriage. Unity is probably a very general term, but we're going to break it down here tonight because I want you to just thrive in your marriages. I wanted myself to thrive in my own marriage. The reason that these blabcasts were created was for the people that have had difficulties in their previous background. Parents got divorced, perhaps siblings got divorced, friends got divorced. I know my husband and I had divorces all throughout our marriage. There was 11 before we were in our mid to early 20s, I think. 11 divorces within our family and friends. That was really, really tough to try to navigate through all of that, because the truth of the matter is that is all a lot of unhealthy information coming into your brain, and not very much healthy coming into your brain. And that's what these blabcasts are for, is to be able to transfer the old unhealthy out and bring the new healthy in. And I'm super, super excited about our series. We are doing this blabcast from Monday to Friday. And we start at 8 p.m. Eastern. And let me just introduce myself to you. I am an author, speaker, coach. In fact, people questioned yesterday, what does LDSM stand for? And it stands for Love Differently, Stay Married. And I'm not showing you this to promote the book, but this is the reason why we're here right now doing this blabcast. It has 5 empowering secrets to create more unity in your marriage. And the truth of the matter is, marriages dissolve because of incompatibility most of the time. I have a really good friend who is an attorney, and she's a divorce attorney. And actually, she likes to be called mediator, not divorce attorney, but mediator. And truly, that is one of the largest reasons why marriages dissolve, because there is no unity in the marriage. So I thought tonight that we would start with secret number 2. Last night, if you have not seen the first video, go ahead and search that on my Blab channel. I think they're called channels now. So search the first video. You're going to see that it's part 1 of 5, and click on that and listen to that, because then you're going to get a better idea of what we're doing here this week. But just because you didn't see last night's video doesn't mean that you're not going to know what we're doing and where we're at tonight. So we've got 5 absolute empowering secrets from the book, and this was inspired by having my own relationship with God and watching my millennial daughter have her relationship with her fiance. They've been together for 4 years. She was actually supposed to be sitting in that seat right there, and unfortunately she could not make it. We've had a death in our family today, so it's been a little challenging, and it was really, really tough for her to say, yeah, I want to jump on and, have my face in the world. So I said, no problem. Just go ahead. So we're going to start with secret number 2, and that really is really an excellent place to start, because it does talk about unity. The 4th secret to the empowering secrets of Love Differently, Stay Married is about unity. And we're going to talk all about that tonight. And what I had planned was going to be so much fun, but I really need one person to jump in here with me to answer some of these true and false questions. That's really all it is. It's just a true and false. And it was going to be kind of fun. But since nobody's here yet, which is hard to imagine, because last night we had so many people on, I guess maybe Tuesday night is not a good night to have a blab, for some anyhow. And what I'd like to discuss is how powerful communication is. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to start talking about the steps to healthy communication. And maybe by the time we're done, we'll have people on the Blabcast. So that would be exciting. And it looks like, is that Michael? Hey, Michael, welcome. Super glad that somebody showed up here. I really appreciate you being here. Michael, I was just going to get started talking about the habits of successful couples, and Super busy time right now on Blab. Yeah, it definitely is. So I have a question for you. Do you want to jump in on a seat here? Because I have got some true and false questions that I would love somebody to just kind of play this game with me here tonight. And there's about 19 questions. So if you're brave enough to jump on, I would love that. So let's see. I kind of can't because my camera's messed up. Okay, no problem, no problem. Successful couples sounds interesting. Yes, it is. Okay, so I appreciate your, Michael, could you just stay there and answer questions true or false for me? That would be awesome. Okay, perfect. So this is what we're going to do. Michael is definitely just helping me out, really. I really appreciate it. Okay, so the first true or false question is, successful couples playfully tease about their spouse's faults with each other. What do you think about that? Do you think that's a true or false statement? What do you think, Michael? You think that's true? Well, actually, it's false. Successful couples, and let me just tell you where these came from. There is a couple named Dr. Charles and Elizabeth Schmidt who interviewed thousands, I guess I don't need to leave that right there in front of your face, thousands of couples, and they were asked all of these different questions, and these couples have given all of these responses. So these are 1,000 answers of 1,000 different couples, and that's how they just collected all of these different questions. So yeah, it is. It's very interesting. So look, I'm going to go ahead and just keep going down through here. I'll put that one down, put this one up. So true or false, successful couples are careful to keep their lives together, their routine predictable, so that their relationship remains stable and sane. What do you think about that? True or false? True or false? Stable and sane. Michael's thinking. So let me read it one more time. The successful couples are careful to keep their lives together, their routines predictable, so that their relationship remains stable and sane. I want to say both. I know, right? Just because I feel like sometimes you need to fall in love with your spouse over and over again. Aw, I love that answer. That's true, huh? So what do you think? True or false? Oh, want to say false. Actually, you know what? It is false. You're absolutely right. Couples that are careful to keep their lives routine and predictable are definitely not those that are successful. And one of the reasons is because sometimes the greatest things in life are unpredictable, right? I'll tell you one thing. I am a planner. My husband is not a planner. He is a fly by the seat of your pants kind of individual. He has a lot of fun in life. And if he's ready to go and do something, I mean, he's ready to go, right? And I'm like, okay, wait, what are we doing? What's going to happen at the end of that? So yeah, it is absolutely true. My life would get boring if it were not for him. And he says the same thing, that his life would get boring too if I wasn't saying, okay, step back. Let's plan this out and make sure that we're not going to run into some trouble, okay? So his life wouldn't get boring as much as his life would probably be in trouble a lot. Okay, so there's the next question. We have true or false. Successful couples find ways of adding surprise, excitement, and adventure to their marriage. And I think we probably just answered that one, didn't we? Yeah, true. Yep. Okay, so next question. All right, true or false? Successful couples have experienced very stressful situations in their 30-year marriage. True or false? Successful couples have experienced very stressful situations. True. It absolutely is true. It's funny because last night on our Blab, we had, collectively, we probably had like 90 years of marriage of the people that were on the Blab. And it was phenomenal because there was a lot of wisdom and experience there. And for people who are not married or who've never been married before, might just be thinking about marriage in particular, that is a huge wealth of knowledge. That is like dipping into a gold mine to sit and listen to people who really have been there, who have done it, and who are doing it successfully. Michael, I was actually just reading an article that humans feel far more connected with someone when they go through a stressful situation together and come out on top. Amen to that. You absolutely are correct. Yeah, I love that. Michael, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I mean, I want to scroll over to read your profile here. Click on that and see if it comes up. Creative marketing director, motion graphics, web development, brand identity, and video editing. Awesome. I am going to follow you right now, sir. So thank you for that. Why is that one? That's so weird. It opened up to a different window, Michael. I've never seen it do that before. Are you coming in? Yes.
So I can come in. It's just I can't use my camera pretty much. But I could just talk, I guess.
No, you absolutely can talk. That's great. I mean, it's going to save your fingers from typing everything.
yeah, exactly. I was like trying to respond to emails, and I'm like, this is a little bit complicating right now.
Yeah,
I like this. It's pretty interesting. I want to see more. I want to see more blabs like this, where it's more of I don't know, like getting to really know someone or really getting into an actual topic rather than. I mean, like some blabs are fun, it's just lighthearted, but I really want to like see people be vulnerable to an extent, and not like vulnerable where you're like just stepping outside your comfort zone, like just releasing it and like, oh wow, I didn't know that. That's amazing. So yeah, this is interesting for sure.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate it. And I'm gonna have to keep this in mind for next time I want to do a blab on a Tuesday night. Ain't gonna happen. Last night we had a good showing. Tonight not so much. But
Tuesday and Wednesday from what's it called? 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is now the highest traffic time because that's when everybody's like planning their shows and stuff like that. So it's like it's one of those moments where there's a lot of people on, but there's also like 50 blabs going on at the same time. So people are just like all over the place and stuff. But yeah, definitely caught my eye.
Yep, I noticed that. And so here's what I'm going to just tell you. I appreciate that you chose this one to come on to. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, are you married? Are you engaged? Are you thinking about marriage? Are you single?
So okay, I'm 27. I was with my girlfriend for 7 years, and we recently broke up about a week and a half ago or so. So it's interesting because that's why it caught my eye. I was like, oh, I really want to hear what you have to say or what the topic is. But
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is excellent because I was actually just getting ready to talk about the 7 most important communication tips, and that really, if people don't learn to communicate, it's just like in business. As a business person, unless you learn how to communicate and communicate in a healthy, positive, happy way, you don't get clients, you don't get customers, and so you've really got to be able to take that knowledge and pour it into whatever relationship that you have in the future. Now, Michael, whether or not this particular relationship will ever get back together or not, really what it comes down to is how do you move forward from here? What is it that you're going to take and learn from this relationship? And I think tonight may be a really good opportunity for you to, see what happened, and maybe what did you, or what could you do a little bit differently in the future. And I'm really glad that you're on here for that reason. Don't worry, I'm not going to go into pinpointing anything in your relationship. In fact,
I really don't mind. Like I think like I've kind of come to my point in my life where I've always just kind of been this person. Like I try to go like really deep into my own mind and kind of just figure out like for example, like I get angry that I drop something and I get like really pissed off, and I'm like, why am I so angry? Like, what about this is getting me so upset? I really try to get to the core of it. So if you want to pick it apart, by all means, feel free. I would enjoy it just because maybe I'll have a moment of like, deep introspective, like reflection of like, I didn't think of it that way.
Absolutely. And that's what this is about. It's for clarity. It's for understanding, how to move forward from here. I'm super glad too that you are an entrepreneur. At least it sounds like you're an entrepreneur, because I think entrepreneurial people are much more open-minded, and I love that, which is one of the reasons why I am one. So let's talk a little bit about the 7 most important habits of a healthy communication, because without it, we really struggle. So unifying is number 1. It's the most important topic that you can really try to come into in a conversation. And I don't know about you, but I know my husband and I have had some serious knockdown drag-outs over 33 years of marriage. And they weren't fun. They were unhealthy and kind of really awful. Do you ever find that, or did you find that?
Yeah, definitely. I felt like sometimes little things can somehow get into your relationship and like fracture it in a way that, like, I'm sure you've had the same thing where you're having a fight and then you kind of think about it like, what were we even fighting about? Like, we're just fighting about like 10 minutes of just like it got off topic to some other randomness, and you're like, what's even happening right now? So
Exactly.
it's
That's
kind of interesting.
so here's what I find. When you can actually unify on one topic, and that's actually the next thing. So the first one is to unify. So how do you unify on something when you are, especially if you're both really irritated or annoyed, right? The only way that you're going to get to do that is to actually ask yourself, okay, what is it that the two of us can agree on this particular topic? Let's just say, I don't know, let's talk finances, okay?
Okay.
So let's just say that my husband just went out and he blew $500, okay?
Yeah.
Now this is just an example because this is never really, has it ever happened? I don't think so. But, and I'm being a planner, I don't just take $500 and drop it on nothing. I do make very quick decisions about money, but we like to communicate when it comes to a heavier kind of project that we want to drop, say $500 on. Now, $500 is subjective. To some people, that's a lot. To some people, it's not. But to us, if we're going to make a purchase of that size, we want to make sure that we're both in agreement and, that this is a good thing. So we're going to unify and come together and agree. So I would say to him, okay, honey, we both had agreed that if we're going to spend money on any product or any service that cost over $300, that we were both going to come together and agree on that. Is that true? So you have to find something that you can unify on, because once you can do that, it's almost like having a system. And Michael, you know this, when you have a system in your business and something steps out of that system and it's out of order, then something fails, right?
Yeah.
When that happens, you have to go back to the system and say, okay, now wait a minute. We had this down in the system, and this is what did not happen. And that's why that chain and that link just broke.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely.
that's why unifying is really, really important on any particular subject. You know what? I'm going to put my glasses on here for a second. For some reason this isn't on.
I know. I just noticed that it's not on the homepage, your blab. So I'm trying to figure out on the sideline right now, like, why is that not the case? That's why I hopped in. I sent him a DM on Twitter and asked him, like, can you check this? Because I don't know why.
Thank you. Yes, I know, because I tried looking for it earlier too, and I'm like, I don't know how to get it up there. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to tweet it out right now, though, just to kind of see if we can make that happen. I don't know. Everything changes so fast sometimes on this because of it being a beta program. Which
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I absolutely love this platform, but I didn't understand either. So thank you for doing that. Okay, so the first one was unifying, and to be able to find a topic that you both can agree on, right? Mm-hmm. Then the second one was to just pick one topic. So we'll stick with the finances, for instance. He spent $500. I'm now unifying, saying, okay, wait a minute, honey. We both agreed that we weren't going to spend over $300. Now you've gone and spent $500. So there was something out of order there, right? Picking one topic, the amount that he spent was the topic that I wanted to choose, all right? Now, if I chose more, and if I started saying things like, yeah, well, do you remember when you spent $1,000 on this and you never came and talked to me about it? So now I'm going off topic, right? Not only am I going off topic, but I'm digging up from the past. Can you relate to that?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and I think most couples can, because it's something, well, for a couple of reasons. One, I think it's exampled. Okay, now, I don't know if you heard in the very beginning of this Blabcast, which is what I call it, but my husband and I had 11 divorces that affected our lives before we were in our early 20s. That is a whole heap of divorces, okay? Now, what that signifies to us is that we've had a lot of unhealthy relationships, both parents divorced, siblings divorced, and serial divorces, And so there was not a lot of healthy relationships, which is why both my husband and I really dug deep into, how can we make marriages better? How can we make our marriage work? And picking one topic is very, very helpful for doing that. So the first one was unifying. The second one was pick one topic. All right, so the third one, show up.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times, and if you're guilty of this, Michael, feel free to say, because I know you're not alone. I know I've done it myself. How many times does somebody get upset about something and take off?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that's one of my things that are frustrating for me
Yeah.
is I know like so I kind of have like this weird like paradox of it. Like I know sometimes you need to let a person have the moment to just reflect on it and to like take their emotion away and not just like you have a fight and you're like let's talk about it, but you're talking about it and you're like I hate you because you're just mad. So I know there's like there should be some point in which you could take time away to like come back, you know, but at the same time I absolutely hate when too much time is taken or it's just completely disregarded. And not even just in like a relationship, just in general, like friendships or whatever, where it's like, are we going to talk about that or are we just going to pretend that just never happened and wait for it to happen again? Which, I mean, it's kind of interesting for sure.
Yeah, it is. And no, I can completely understand what you're saying. And I think in truth, everybody has this emotional trigger. I mean, we
Mm.
all do. We have these emotional triggers and they crop up when we're pissed off about something, right? And so when we get to that point, we've got to be
Yeah.
able to be mature enough to say, okay, look, my emotions are a little out of control or whatever. I just need a couple of minutes to just cool down. And if you absolutely need to step away, then step away. That's
Yeah.
actually one of the tips here on these 7 tips of great healthy communication. Step away when you need to. And so I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, Michael. I think we have 2 different patterns that we usually do. It's either the fight or the flight, right?
Yeah,
Either
exactly.
we're wanting to run away or we're wanting to stay there and just duke it out. And I was raised in a home that was, and you can hear my story in the first video if you want to hear any of that. But I was raised in a very tough environment. My dad was a very forceful individual. And so I learned to be really, really tough. I kind of, tried to hang out with my brothers and really get that masculine energy going and, kind of duke things
Yeah.
out when I needed to. And then we ended up, my husband and I ended up marrying. He was raised in the same type of a home, very dysfunctional. My home was very dysfunctional. Now we get together and now we're both dysfunctional. Then we have children and we're raising dysfunctional children. I mean, bless my children. I'm not saying that they are dysfunctional, but they were raised in a dysfunctional environment.
Yeah, I
And
get what
so,
you're saying.
yeah, I mean, so you're going to have emotional triggers because we're not alone. There are thousands and thousands and millions of people who have been affected by divorce, especially in this country, in the United States. And so, having these 7 different tips are extremely helpful. I love what you said, though, that, there are times when you do just want to step away, and that is extremely important. So the first one was unifying. The second one was to pick one topic. The third one is to show up. And the fourth one is to listen.
Yeah,
Listen.
I think similar to you, I kind of grew up in a like I kind of had a rough childhood. I wouldn't say that it was like horrible, but both my parents divorced and they went through a very intense breakup where I became more of like a weapon to hurt each other. But it was
Mhm.
this weird moment of like being used to like make my mom be hurt or my dad be hurt.
Right.
And I think and then like actually my parents both remarried and then both of them and their new relationships kind of did the same thing. So I think in a way it's kind of rubbed off on me in the sense of like I realized like, oh, they don't actually talk about their problems. They're just arguing for the sake of arguing. So like for me, like I feel like for just any relationship that might be healthy, I try to reevaluate like why are we having this argument and what's the objective of it? Like the objective should always be like instead of like fighting against it should be more like we're fighting about how we're going to come to like a solution. So instead of saying like Kelly, you're wrong, it's more of like all right, instead of you being wrong, where can we find middle ground? But
That's
I find that a lot of people do that, so it's frustrating for me because I'm like, I'm not trying to fight with you. I'm trying to figure out like what you're feeling, what you want different, what I'm doing wrong, and then we'll come to some kind of like resolution. Whereas a lot of times it's more of like, you're wrong, I'm right, and that's it. Where I'm like, okay, so you just want it to be right, like you didn't actually want to solve anything right now. So it's kind of
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, no, I totally get it. A lot of people think that pride is a really, really great thing to have, but I'll tell you what, it is our pride that actually keeps us in those unresolved issues because we can't get to that state of humility where we
Yeah,
recognize, you know what, this isn't a lack of, a lack of love. This isn't a lack of, understanding or a lack of logic or compassion. This is just my own pride getting in the way. And when we can get back to that part, which is what you were saying earlier, you ask yourself these questions to see how is it, or why is it that I'm being triggered right now? What is it that I need to look at, to let this show up differently, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I want to share a story with you about listening, because this is something that is extremely important. I'm sure you've heard of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
Well, I learned this from one of his coaches. He was just such a great teacher of mine. Actually, it was my very first mentor. It was so long ago. But he challenged us in a seminar before we broke for lunch. He challenged us to pick one person to go and have lunch with and not say a word. That you sit there across the table from this person, you ask them how they're doing, and just let them talk. And you don't say a word. Oh my goodness, Michael, that was the most challenging thing I'd ever done, and it was with my 15-year-old son. Now, I use this story as an example of listening because to me it was probably the most powerful story that I have as far as listening goes. But my son, when I first told him that, I asked his permission if I could use a story, he goes, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as powerful for him as it was for me. But I took him to lunch. And so I sat across the table, literally putting my finger over my mouth like this, so I didn't say a word, because otherwise I would. As a mom with teenagers, you always want to, make sure that they're getting the right advice or whatever. So I asked him, I said, so honey, how's things going? How's your life? What's going on? He just started talking, and he paused for a minute, and I wanted to say something, and I was just like, doing this number the entire time for 45 minutes. And it was such an exercise in listening, because I found out things about my son during the 45 minutes that I never knew. And it was hurtful because he had been involved in things that I didn't know about at the time,
Yeah.
But it allowed me to see a part of his heart that I didn't know anything about. And that was huge as a parent. So I learned that listening is far greater of a skill in respect than most anything else is. What do you think about that?
Yeah, there's this movie that I heard when I watched when I was a kid, and it's really interesting because it's called Loser. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie. It's about this guy who goes to college in New York, and he's really nervous because he's from a small town. He just wants to make friends, and it's his comedy. It's just a random comedy. But I think it was like 9 or 10, and this one line, I don't know why, it jumped out at me, and I've always kind of held it to my heart. The dad tells his kid, he's like, you want to know the secret to making friends and having a lot of people love you? And the kid's like, yeah, of course, tell me. And he says, interested is interesting. He's like, if you're interested in people's lives and you just listen, you're going to become this most interesting person that everybody gravitates to. Because he's like, everyone talks and nobody really listens, and everyone's waiting their turn just to say what they want to say. And it was this weird moment where I was like this little kid, and I was like, huh, that makes sense. And I try to do it. Like when I'm on Blabs in particular, like actually last night I was on this show. It's, I don't know if I should promote it. It's called Hit It or Quit It. And it's this show about people talking, and it's kind of like a dating show, but a lot of times the questions are very promiscuous and raunchy. But I hopped on because everyone asked those questions, and I asked deep questions. I wanted to actually ask a question that was really going to make people think. And I just did it because I wanted to test people's reactions. And it was so funny because everyone loved the questions, and everyone was like, wow, I never thought of those things. And I got a lot of DMs and tweets of people hey, could you send me those questions? I want to ask people that I know those questions, where it was really bizarre because I was just actually paying attention and I wanted to hear the answers. And I didn't really want to hear their answers just that. I wanted to hear the reaction and the passion behind the answers. But yeah, it's interesting. If you just listen to people, how much more you can learn from them. And then also kind of learn from yourself, I guess, just by I'm gonna just shut up for 5 minutes and not say a single thing and just be like, oh, how'd that make you feel? Oh man, it's, just saying nothing.
Exactly. Absolutely. I am dying to know those questions. Michael, I can honestly say that you and I are going to get along great. I mean, I can already tell that we have a net friending connection here, not a networking connection. Okay. So the next tip is actually tip number 5, and it's called stay focused. And you really just hit the nail on the head. You stayed focused on the people that were responding in that group last night. And I think that's powerful because they then turned the focus on you when you were asking the questions. And when you can show up and listen and stay focused, you're absolutely right. People are going to be drawn to you automatically because not many people know how to do it, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I've kind of just applied that into like my business and like marketing and stuff like that, where for my clients, I always tell them like, there's a lot of like, let's say you're a restaurant. I was like, everybody wants to talk about the restaurant, but no one actually wants to suck it up and say like, what's wrong with our restaurant, or like, what can we do that you would appreciate? Or I had a client recently where like, we don't want to listen to him. I'm like, why? Like, you're getting direct like feedback. Like, if your pasta sucks, you need to think about it. Like, you don't have to take it seriously, or you don't have to go cry at night. But I was like, you just gotta listen, and they'll tell you where to improve on, and you just listen. So I try to do it with work and also just my real life. Like, if my brother says like, oh, you're kind of rude to the family, I'm like, okay, tell me why, how, what's going on, like what should I do differently and stuff. So yeah,
right.
just
That's
listen.
awesome. So you don't mind feedback then, obviously.
It's one of those things, I don't mind it, but it's definitely hard to drop your ego, because there's a lot of times where someone last night said something about me, and I was like, I'm not that kind of a person. And I had to kind of like just suck it up and just listen. And then I just kind of was like, well, maybe they just don't know me, and, take it as, you don't have to adopt and suck in everything and apply to your life. If you don't think you're that, then, just, nah, and then just move on. But yeah, I try to listen and try to hear, but sometimes it's definitely a little bit difficult to not get attached to the emotions you feel.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it is definitely about not getting attached to emotions. And again, coming back to the humility side of it, if we don't
Yeah.
Start with humility in any conversation, like even in this group, if I didn't start with humility in this group, all you would be hearing is my ego,
Yeah.
and that's just so where I want to live. So agreement on that. So the tip number 6 would be to cool down. I'm getting a message that says poor internet signal. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. I can hear and see you.
Really interesting. I don't know why it's saying that. Okay, so cooling down. We talked about that earlier when we get too emotionally involved and invested, or maybe we're coming from the ego and we don't want to come from ego. We want to come more from the heart in a conversation. That we need to step away and have some time to cool down. So that one is definitely. And then the last one is the win-win. I'll go back to this example that I was talking about with my husband and I with the finances. Okay. And again, this was just an example, but in order for us to find a win, when I had to find out what did we unify on in this particular topic, well, we had both agreed that we were going to spend X amount of dollars, and he went a couple $100 over that amount. But in the win-win side of this would be that I would understand why he wanted this particular product. I would understand why he didn't connect with me first on it to have the discussion. He wouldn't have to get my permission, but at least that we would both agree that, yeah, that's a great investment. See, I think it all comes back to core values for me. And in this book, Love Differently, Stay Married, this is my 8th book, and this is where the LDSM principles come from. Love Differently, Stay Married means that you do have to do things differently than the people that you had examples from in your lifetime. Yeah. And what we were saying, Michael, you and I both have had unhealthy relationship examples our entire upbringing. So we need to learn how to love differently in our relationship. And having a win-win for us in that particular example would be, honey, I'm more than happy for you to have this particular product that you wanted that cost $500. But all I wanted you to do was just connect with me first, that we can talk and have an agreement. And you know what? I know my husband, and he'd be like, I'm so sorry. You're absolutely right. And that to me is a win. Whenever we can get to that place where we can both agree that this is what we wanted to do. And I use that as an example. I should have used myself doing something wrong instead of my husband doing something wrong. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, being able to come into an agreement and have a win-win for the both of us really is that opportunity to celebrate what you just went through. You had a conversation that could have been this huge blow up, but instead it remained a healthy conversation between the two of you. And you have to celebrate those times, because what the world chooses is to have the knockdown dragouts. That's what we learned. That's what we did in our relationships. And now that we have healthy conversations, we are totally in the win-win area. We do air fives, we go to dinner, we go to lunch, we do whatever we can just to celebrate the wins in our relationship. So what do
That's
you
a good
think
idea.
about?
Yeah, that's a good practice because I don't think I've actually ever technically done that before. Like I've done it on a small scale, but
Right?
I think that's something I'll try and incorporate into my life of more. And you know, I've tried to do it more on Blab, because I know on Blab like more people just because they're in the comfort of the home, they're more likely to open up about something like last night. Again, actually on that show, some guy couldn't figure out like a question to ask, so I fed
Mhm.
him one. I fed him like a pretty good question. I think the question I said was like what's one obstacle that you've overcame in your life that you feel really proud of at the end of the day or something like that. And
Mhm.
this girl, it went from being like really fun, playful, sexual to this intense question. And she started talking about Tourette's and how she's suffered through Tourette's her whole life and she's been able to work through it mentally. And I find like a lot of people are being open. So one thing I'm trying to do a lot here, and it seems weird. I know it seems weird because no one does it. I just tell people like, oh, hey, thanks for opening up. Like you didn't have to share that and you got vulnerable. I appreciate it, which is so bizarre. No one ever like responds to it like, oh yeah, no problem. Cause I know to them it's not a big deal, but I kind of want them to walk away, the next day or something thinking about it, like, damn. And even that girl, one thing that made me feel so happy about me telling that guy to ask that question, she was like, I've actually never talked about this ever out loud. And she's like, I'm about to cry right now because it feels so weird. And everyone
Yeah.
was like, but it was
Yeah.
such a weird change of shift of mood. Like it went from like really lighthearted sexual talk to like everyone just being like, wow, like thank you. And she's about to cry because she opened up. So and I told her the same thing. I was like, hey, thanks for, sharing. Thanks for opening up. So I think in that same sense, what you just said, like when you actually have a moment where you have a bond, like celebrating it or like, hey, good job, Callie, for like listening to me. I appreciate it. Like you're awesome or something versus just, I think people have a tendency to point out the negatives all the time and they never, never, ever point out positives. One thing that I do that's kind of, I think is weird, but I really love doing is that I notice when you go to a restaurant, a lot of people will write a comment card when it's like bad. Like they always will complain no matter what. And one thing that I always, always try to do, or not, I just always do it 100%, is if I have a good waiter or waitress, I call the manager over and I ask for a comment card. And then I make sure to say like, oh, my waiter was really good. I appreciated like how fast he was and stuff like that. Because I feel like everyone's quick to leave a bad comment card, but nobody ever leaves it like great food, amazing service, blah, blah, blah. So I kind of do it, but I like what you're saying to celebrate it more in a relationship versus
Yeah.
other stuff.
Dude, I really like you. I want you to come on as my co-host. We're actually doing this Monday through Friday of this week, and
Okay, nice.
I had co-hosts. I don't know if you heard me early on. I had co-hosts actually that were supposed to be on with me. I personally have had 4 deaths in my family and friendships, and then our dog died today. I
Oh
mean, it
God,
has been
so
such
sorry.
a really challenging. I'm ready for death to be done for a little while, anyways.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
my co-host, one of them was my daughter, and then a friend, and so we've had these family emergencies and that have come up. So I didn't have a co-host for tonight, and that's always a little more challenging. So, but as I'm sitting here, I'm listening to you, Michael. I'm thinking to myself, okay, this dude he's a millennial, right? If you want to
I think
put the
so. Yeah, I'm
label.
27. Yeah.
So, I mean, I hate labels, but that is what people would term you as. And
Yeah.
you are actually the person that I want to reach. You're the person that this book is for. I mean, Love Differently, Stay Married shares the 5 different principles that come away from that promiscuous or the sexual talk to
Yeah.
let's get deep. Let's truly figure out what is it that I want for my core values in my life. What is it that I want to see in me, not necessarily in somebody else, but what is it that I want to see in me? Give me a GPS to shoot for. It's kind of like what we were
Yeah.
talking about with systems in your business, right? You have systems in your business that keep your business running. You know whether or not those systems are working, because if they're working, you're going to be financially squared away, you're going to be emotionally squared away, you're going to be relationally squared away in your business. But if those systems are broken, they're broken and they're not going to
Yeah.
work. It's the same exact thing in marriage. But how many people actually strategize in their marriage? Zippo.
Yeah, it's
you
really
know?
true. Like even on Blab, like there's people that I've been attracted to on here, like in any capacity. Like, oh, he's really cool, or she's really pretty, or they seem really interesting, or whatever. And For me, like I don't know what it is about my personality. I really, really like, sounds kind of crazy. I really like knowing someone. No, that's the wrong word. I don't like knowing someone. I like to understand someone. Like there's one thing to me, like you can know about something, but to really understand it, like, and anyways, like you could talk about like, oh, I know how a refrigerator works. I'm like, okay, but do you understand how the actual chemical reaction? And you're like, no. Like it's a very big difference. Where on Blab, I at least on like the space that we're on right now, I guess is a like example. Like there's people that I've been attracted to, and then when I get to know them, I either become way more attracted to, or I'm just like, oh, I really don't like who you are. Not in like a bad way, like I'm still their friends, but it's just interesting
Right.
that I've tried to like do it on Blab. Like there's this one girl I was like, oh, she's really cool, but then when I actually got to know her, I'm like, ugh, yeah, we would never be able to be real friends, like just because of like her outlook or the way she reacts to things and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
yeah, if you
Sure.
need to know, understand someone's, to me,
Yeah, and
deeper.
I think too, Michael, that's where core values come in. So let me explain core values because maybe people don't know, and I know there's going to be people watching the replay. So core values is really your GPS about what you want to see happen for your life. Okay, so for
Yeah.
instance, we were just talking finances. If I don't have a core value of what I want to see happen in my finances, making X amount of dollars per year, investing rather than spending. And let me just explain that one really quickly because I know people were going to go, okay, wait a minute, what's the difference? Investing is that's how I quote spend my money. If I'm going to do anything, if I'm going to go to the grocery store, I'm going to invest in my health. Okay. I'm not just going to spend money willy nilly. I want to invest in my health. If I'm
Yeah.
going to spend money on a product, I want to invest in my education, in my mind, or in my relationships. I invest time in my relationships. So that is where your GPS for success can be huge to create core values for your relationship. What do you want? If
Yeah.
you can answer that question for the most important factors of your life in every single category, you are going to have a GPS for your success that will help you stay motivated to get up in the morning and go, dang, this is such an awesome day, and really continue to move forward and be motivated. Do you have core values or do you have a list of core values for yourself, Michael?
You know, it's interesting because I think with the like relationship that I was in, how do I word this without sounding like a dick? um,
Okay, well, I first of all would not call you that, but go ahead.
yeah. Um, I think what I was looking for was someone, or I'm looking for, and I'm not saying like we might not get back together or something like that, but I like the idea of someone who challenged me to find out and rediscover who I am without actually pushing it. More of just them being themselves made me feel more of like, damn, like if your husband or wife is working really hard and you're just talking about like, oh, I gotta do this and that, you'll kind of get motivated for yourself, not without saying like, why don't you get up and go do this and that, you know? So in terms of like core values, I think for me, I'm kind of like reevaluating what it means to me because it kind of like brought it on for the first time kind of ever really. Um,
Hmm.
so like my
Well,
core value, I don't know. That's a good question because I know what it was beforehand, but now I'm kind of coming to this space where I'm like, hmm, I don't really know, like actually, because
okay.
I kind of
So
like that, honestly. I like
good.
sometimes not knowing because then you get to
Well,
figure it out.
here's what's important about this conversation about core values. If you don't have a list of core values in those areas of your life that are important to you, let's just say gaming was important to you, okay? If gaming is important to you, then what kind of a core value are you going to set up for gaming? Is it something that, maybe this sounds ridiculous to some people, especially when I point out gaming, which I'm not sure why I said that, but, well, I have a future son-in-law who loves gaming. He's really, really into gaming.
Yeah.
But if gaming takes precedence over a relationship, then that could put you in trouble. Okay. So a core value for gaming might look like I will play, Xbox or whatever. I don't know what the games are today, but play Xbox from, 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. or 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. That way, the relationship takes precedence in between that time. That's a core value, and it may sound ridiculous, but that is a core value that you establish in your life. Okay, let's take finances. What's a core value for finances? One of my core values in finances is that we invest, we don't just spend. Another core value might be for me that we set up and establish different accounts. So there'd be a give account. I love to give money, okay? There'd be a play account. I love to be able to take my husband out and go do something every month, you know?
That's a good idea. Yeah.
There's an education account. I love to learn and educate, and so does he. So we always set aside money for education or paying off our daughter's college or whatever it might be. And this necessities account. So these different accounts would be extremely important to set up. That's a core value for me. But if people don't see, you know, what's important to them, whether it be sexually, financially, spiritually, educationally, and you're not really writing down what's important to you, how do you know where to go in relationship? How do you know how to have the conversations when you're sitting across the table from someone that you're dating and you say to them, so tell me something. How do you feel about finances? Do you have a certain goal regarding your finances? And if that person's like, well, no, you know, I just make my money and I spend it. Well, then you already know that this could be an issue in a future relationship with this person unless they can see that there's a better way to do finances. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And it's something that I've been trying to work on in the last 6 months because in many ways, that's kind of why I think mine and my girlfriend or ex, whatever you want to call it, kind of broke apart in a sense was because I kind of realized that our goals and the things that we wanted short-term and long-term weren't really matching up in sync. And I wasn't like mad about it. I wasn't really trying to be sad about it. It was just like, oh, this is just who you are. And whoever anyone is, like, to me, I try to view it as like, if you're that person, be who you are. I never want you to fake who you are because it's never going to work. I don't want you to like sit there and, you know, regret it. Like, for example, something happened in a relationship where she was like, oh, I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to turn my eyes away so it doesn't bother me. And I was like, no, I don't want you to have to like forcefully change an aspect of your like psyche to like make it work. Like if it just doesn't, if you don't like that, that's just who you are. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to fix it. You're just going to kind of like push it aside. But yeah, I think I've been trying to definitely kind of reevaluate what like my life goals are, what my finances are like, what I want to invest in, what I want to spend. Like I try to equate time more important than money because I can't get time. I can get more money, but I can't get more time. So I'm trying to think more of like, what do I want to do that's going to be a better use of my time versus like working at a 9-to-5 like job or something like that. Nothing wrong with it. Like people do it all the time. It's great. You need those people in society, whether otherwise everything would just crash, you know? But for me, I'm like, I don't think I want to spend my time like that on this planet because I don't really care what religion anyone believes in or philosophy. But at least one thing for certain is that you have just this life. There could be something else, but at the very, very least, this life of who I am in this body, I only got one shot and I don't really want to waste my time or even someone else's time. So I think that's pretty interesting and like important to know. Like I think now if I got into a relationship, whether with the person again or someone new, I think I really, really want to like get into it and be like, do you know who you are? And do you know what you want and what you need? Because if not, like I like you or I love you, but I don't want to waste our time if you don't even know yourself. And if I don't know myself, I don't want to like I don't want to be in two broken people trying to come together and be whole. It doesn't really work that way. I mean, it might, but it's not going to be a fruitful relationship. I don't think. I don't know. You know, there's people who find each other and make each other better, but.
Well, let me just say this. I have, since 2004, I don't know how many couples to date that I've coached, but it's been hundreds, if not thousands, across the world, okay? And this is probably one of the most powerful things that you can establish in your life as a couple, are core values, because it gives you that GPS. If you try to go somewhere in your GPS without putting a map in there or an address in there, you're not going to get anywhere. This core value that we're talking about here tonight between two people can actually keep your marriage thriving, not just surviving. And by the way, thank you for playing the game with me, true or false, early on.
Oh yeah.
Because those 1,000 people are in the categories that we're talking about here tonight. They are successfully married because they have established these core values that you're now learning. And I am thrilled that you're learning this, Michael. I think this is such a powerful thing. I want to invite you to come back for the rest of the week. You have time. 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern is when we're going to be on, and I'd love to have you come back online. I will have other co-hosts, but just jump in if you can, okay?
Yeah, it would be nice to listen. I actually followed you on Twitter, so I'll see the
excellent.
notification pop up, and I'll definitely hop in. It's good. Like I like conversations like this because I think one thing that I love about Blab, and it's something I've been asking people, is like, what do you like about Blab? Like, what are you benefiting from Blab? Because there's some people on here just sitting on for like 14 hours nonstop. And I'm just kind of like, what are you doing? Like, you're just sitting here, not talking. Yeah, well, like, even if you don't have a life, that's fine. But kind of like you said earlier, like the goal, like, what is your objective of sitting on 14 hours? Like, because I've been on Blabs for like this Blab right here. I consider this like a really good way of spending my time right now versus being in a room where people are just kind of like talking about a movie. Where that's not bad, but I'm like, what am I getting from this? Like, I'll be in a Blab. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I could be watching or doing anything else, and it'd be way more fruitful of my time. But I like Blabs like this, where it especially makes you think. I think I'm a little bit more of a thinker. I'm constantly thinking, and sometimes it's a bad thing because I couldn't sleep last night because my thoughts were like running, so I have to meditate and like shut it down, But yeah, I'll definitely hop back in and at least listen, if not, hopefully be able to like engage and
Wow, that would be awesome. Well, Michael, for the people who are listening, because I know we do have 6 listeners, which I'm so grateful for. Do you have some place where people can actually connect with you besides here on Blab? Because these people may or may not be on Blab. They might be on Facebook or Twitter or some other place.
Yeah, like on Twitter, my name is twitter.com/Hernson, HERN as in Nancy, SIN as in Nancy. And then the same with Facebook and just kind of everywhere else. I used to have I do have a website, but I'm redoing it. So if you went to it, it would just be like nothingness and probably confusing. But yeah.
Nothingness websites do not get attended. Okay. So, well, Michael, I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's been a pleasure meeting you, and I love the fact that you've had these great aha moments here tonight to be able to say, core values are important, because they truly are. And, just keep me updated. If you don't come back for the next few nights, keep me updated. I would love to just stay in touch with you and see how things are going for you. That would be awesome. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a very interesting week or two of like emotions and figuring out and self-evaluation and stuff like that. So I'll definitely update you and let you know how it's all going or how it's been in terms of like this first conversation. And a lot can happen in a week, which is I finding pretty interesting how much can change or not change in a week.
Oh, so true. And that goes without saying for anything. I mean, truly, things can change just like that on a dime. So
yeah.
All right, sir. Well, thank you so much, and bless you. I hope that things work out in whatever relationship you have.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, have a great night.
Yeah, you too.
All right, so thank you very much for listening tonight. I hope that as you, as the listener, got something out of this Blab tonight, this Blabcast, and join me again for the next 3 nights in a row. I will have some great co-hosts bringing in a lot more people, which would be a lot more fun to engage with, because the more people come into these seats, the more fun we actually do have. And I'm so thankful that Michael came in tonight. He was a lot of fun. I do want to just mention to you that you will find this book on Amazon or in Barnes & Noble. If you go to Barnes & Noble and they don't have it, tell them to order it, because they can get online and order it. So thank you so much for joining me. My name is Kelly Frazier, and you can find me on kellyfrazier.com. You can find me on dayoflove.org, or you can just find me here on Blab. You can also find me on Facebook. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Have a great night. Bye-bye.